Have you ever felt that you really wanted to do something maybe fun, rewarding, exciting, but then when push came to shove, there's this kind of sticky resistance inside of you. It's not really exciting anymore, and all of a sudden it feels more like a burden. It doesn't matter if you're starting a habit or going after something that you genuinely want, like a career opportunity or a new relationship. But now there is like this friction inside of you and a heaviness, and it doesn't really feel exciting anymore. Hi, I'm Olof Nilsson. I'm a clinical psychologist, and today we're talking about internal resistance, what it is, where it can come from, and how just knowing about it and learning to kind of befriend it can help you to kind of have a little bit of an easing of those debilitating effects on your life. Having resistance show up, especially when it comes to big opportunities or everyday life, absolutely sucks, and it can be very detrimental. Internal resistance is not a character flaw. It is not something that you're doing something wrong or that you should do something necessarily different. It is not a weakness, and it's not laziness, and it's certainly not a sign that you are not ready. But in psychology, resistance is completely normal response. It's very predictable that it will happen. It happens to almost everyone. So it's a very normal human thing to have and experience. Let's start with the biology, that the human brain is designed for survival, not happiness, and not for growth. Your nervous system loves the familiar. It loves predictability, it loves routines, it loves familiar emotions, behaviors it already knows. If there's something the brain hates, and I talk about this in a lot of my videos, it's uncertainty and the unknown. So unknown feelings and uncertain situations is something which it really likes to avoid. So when you introduce something new, even something positive, your brain naturally activates resistance as a natural protective mechanism. The amygdala, your brain's kind of threat detector, doesn't care if you're starting a new fitness routine or launching a business. It kind of thinks, this is new, this is uncertain, this might be bad news. So what do you feel? You feel anxiety, avoidance, procrastination, mental fog, and kind of maybe self-doubt as well. Should I do it? It doesn't feel right, and so on. Resistance is simply your biology trying to kind of keep you alive, even when you're not in danger. Each time you kind of challenge those silent rules, resistance shows up and kind of pulls you back to what your system knows. Now let's talk a little bit about the psychological layer. You don't enter adulthood as a blank slate. We have our childhoods, family dynamics, early experiences, and all of this have kind of shaped our internal rules about who we are, who we're allowed to be. It kind of sets our beliefs for kind of how the world works, how other people are, what to expect. That is huge. Kind of what do we expect of others, the world, and so on. So based on this, we interpret situations that are in alignment with our learned expectations. That means you could still, 20 years later, feel like people are going to judge you or criticize you, even if no one actually does. That's just kind of your default prediction, and that is very unfortunate. So your nervous system and your mind was taught kind of at an early age, just kind of subconsciously, just for picking up experiences and whatever happened around you, it just kind of, as a sponge, learned and picked up kind of what is safe and what feels safe, and kind of what is this fence that you should kind of keep being inside. And then we also have to connect resistance to negative emotions. So we have the unknown, the uncertain, but we also have negative emotions. This is something we also hate to experience, and the brain also really wants to avoid. For some people, it's very obvious that when they kind of have a lot of resistance going into a situation, that is because there's also a negative emotion, like feeling anxiety, embarrassment, anger, whatever it is that comes up. For others, it's more mysterious. You maybe sense a hesitation, a resistance, but you don't really know why. But we can think of it as if there is no negative emotions involved, resistance would kind of not exist so much, right? If there only were positive emotions toward a situation, you would not really hesitate to go into it, right? Then you would kind of more be pulled towards it. So first, learning to notice which negative emotions that are being triggered is huge and super important. And it often happens very fast, like sometimes even before you realize it. It can be a split second. Sometimes also you do things internally which is kind of blocking your emotions, which is kind of another topic, but then you need to sort those out so you can have access to your feelings. So try to see what negative emotions is kind of surfacing or popping up. And if you have a problem with that, I said that maybe I'll do another video on that. But you can also think a little bit logically from kind of your past experiences about what emotions is kind of likely that I'm feeling here. From my past experiences of maybe always having my boundaries violated and people not really respecting me, okay, it would maybe make sense that if someone does this, that I interpret that as a threat and I get angry or I get afraid. That's one example. You have to apply it to whatever fits your situation. But once you have noticed this, deeper work can kind of reveal the source of this interpretation. As I said, for example, if no one actually violated you in a situation, but still your mind kind of interprets it that way and you react that way, then it usually has its reasons and it is probably through old patterns and old experiences. As I said, these are not flaws, these are kind of natural mechanisms within you. Everyone has them. They are not necessarily something you need to over-dramatize either. They are there, they're doing their thing, and kind of judging those doesn't really help. So just seeing that they are natural mechanisms within you that everyone has will kind of help you. Good news is once you can learn to understand this, you understand your resistance, you can stop taking it so personally, you can stop blaming yourself, and you can stop fighting against your own biology and your own psychology. And instead, research actually shows that people who understand their internal processes are far better at long-term behavior change and reaching their goals. Why? Because when we understand what is happening and understand what's going on inside of us, that it's not something that is wrong, that it's like a core feature of myself, which everyone has, and kind of see that it has a purpose, then that gives a lot of clarity. It kind of reduces a lot of the self-criticism, it reduces blame and shame, and when those go down, resistance can always go down. The goal, I would say, is rather to kind of learn to befriend your resistance, to greet it, say, hello resistance, I see that you have shown up again, that's okay, take my hand and we'll walk through this together. And if you're a little bit like me, that you're really interested in using psychology for personal development, it can also bring a little bit of excitement then when resistance show up, because you see that this is actually a doorway to kind of increasing your potential, and it's something that you can work with, and there can be some excitement and curiosity around it instead of all this judgment, because you know that if you work on it, it is actually going to open things up for you, and that is very exciting. So rounding off, internal resistance doesn't mean you're failing. It can actually mean that you're expanding or going towards things, which would actually mean expansion. And it means that some of the outdated emotional patterns and beliefs are acting a little bit like stubborn donkeys. And if you can learn why the donkey is stubborn, what it fears, what it has kind of experienced in the past, and which negative emotions it doesn't want to feel again, then it becomes a little bit easier to work with, and you can use a carrot instead of a stick approach, which makes the journey smoother. There is a reason why kind of so many methods and therapy traditions and also other types of tradition are really emphasizing kind of acceptance and allowance as core principles for transformation. That kind of accepting what's happening on the inside instead of fighting it or bulldozing it, forcing it, is a way better approach. Because once we allow it, we can kind of go a little bit more, flow a little bit more with ourselves, rather than if we are in kind of resistance to what's happening inside of us, we're resistant to the emotions that kind of come up. That is not optimal for growth or kind of going out in life and doing things that are good for us. So some kind of internal acceptance and allowance of what's happening and the feelings that are evoked when you step into either the uncertain, the unknown, or things that trigger a little bit of those past negative emotions is really chef's kiss when it comes to therapy work and kind of, going towards a little bit of transformation and positive change. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe. All my videos are kind of on this topic where I share my passion for personal development and knowledge and tools as a clinical psychologist in kind of the context more of personal development and progress and growth rather than clinically. If you're interested in that, I'll see you in the next video.